Well, things are a little different here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our first show back since Johnny Carson passed away last week. News that I think stunned everybody, and it's taken a while to process. It's been a week, and it is still, still pretty huge news to absorb. In the last week, so much has been said about Johnny Carson, very eloquently and very well by a lot of people who knew Johnny personally, who were good friends with Johnny, people whose careers were changed, Leno, Letterman, when Johnny Carson took those people under his wing and single-handedly made them the performers we know today. So, thinking about it, and because I think we're the last show, because of our schedule, to be on and probably to comment on this event, it's been hard for me to imagine anything that I could say tonight to people that would in any way add to what's already been said. I mean, so many superlatives have been used, I don't think there are any left, quite honestly. And I just wanted to say something tonight, thought about it for a while, and realized that even though I've had a weird and, compared to many, short career in television, my path did intersect with Johnny's a couple of times in ways that I'm sure meant nothing to Johnny Carson, but were huge to me, and I thought I would relate some of those. The first was, I think it was 1992, when Johnny had just gone off the air, signed off as the host of The Tonight Show, and I was a writer on The Simpsons. And Johnny Carson agreed to come and do a voice on The Simpsons. And I heard Johnny Carson was coming, and I was just, I couldn't believe it. It's like hearing, Moses is going to stop by. He's bringing some tablets with him. They're from God. It's just unbelievable. And we had seen some pretty big stars, but no one came close to Johnny Carson. So he came and into the recording studio, and he was fantastic. He was everything you'd want him to be. He was funny, he was generous with his time, he signed autographs for us, he talked, he told us great stories, just an amazing time. He did his record, his voiceover, and then as a fluke, I just happened to be outside the studio when he left. And he walked out, and I'll never forget this, he had this beautiful white Corvette. So Johnny Carson comes walking out, sunglasses, looks amazing, gets into his white Corvette. And suddenly, I guess, he was on the Fox lot, which is on Pico Olympic in Los Angeles. And I guess he was unfamiliar with that lot. So he suddenly, I was just standing there. I'm a nerd, Simpsons writing nerd, standing there going, Carson, look. And suddenly he just looked up at me, and he looked right at me, and he said, you know how I get out of here? How do I leave? And he looked at me, and I'm, used to watching him grew up watching him on television. Suddenly he's looking at me, but there's no TV screen between me and him. And I just said, yes, you go right down here and take a right, and that'll take you right out. And he went, thank you. And start up his Corvette, zoom, off, takes a right, disappears. And I'm watching him, and I realized it's a left that you take. You take a left to get out of this studio. The right goes right to like a chain link fence and a boulder, There's no way out going to... And I just suddenly, I almost relieved myself. I was just so panicked. He just went off to the right, and I didn't know what to do. And I thought, I'm going to run. What am I going to do? And I just waited, and then I just saw, after about 3 minutes, the car go, boom, back the other way. And I realized he's probably thinking, what asinine kid was that who told me to go the wrong way? I thought I'd never see him again. Maybe a year or so later, it's been a long time now, it's hard for people to probably remember, but I get this job in the most improbable, one of the great, I think, crazy show business stories of all time, plucked from obscurity to replace David Letterman, in way over my head. Way over my head. Thought, happy about it sometimes and wanting to kill myself sometimes. Just really scared, thinking, I don't know if I can do this. And I get, literally, I think 2 weeks after getting this job, I get a call from Suzanne Wright, Bob Wright's wife. Bob Wright runs NBC. And she said, I want you to come, and I want you to get up and say a little something funny at Bob Wright's birthday party, 50th birthday party. And this is the boss calling. You got to do it. And I was so scared, so worried about so many things, I thought, well, I'll just say a few words. There's going to be no pressure at this thing. I go out to Connecticut. I go to this country club. There's all these NBC people there. They're all looking at me like, you're replacing David Letterman? You know? Yeah, I'm like, I mean, whatever I look like today, much worse then. Like, droopy hair, acne, don't worry, I'll save the day. And I show up at this event, and Suzanne Wright said, here's the deal. You're going to go up and be funny, and then Johnny Carson, who's here, is going to go up right after you. And again, I messed myself. Like, he's here, and I am one of two people who's getting up at these things, and so I did the best I could. I got up there, you know, ha ha, funny, and that's all I did, actually, is I just said, ha ha, funny, ha ha, funny, which didn't, you know, didn't look good. No, I did a little bit, and it went okay. I got through it, nothing, no great shakes, and Johnny was right there, and he looked up at me and gave me a smile, and I thought, great. He got up, of course, was brilliant, and then afterwards, he came over to me, and I think he could tell that I was really nervous about what I was going to do, and I was in this predicament, and he said to me, just be yourself. That's the only way it can work. And I noticed at the time, he said, that's the only way it can work. He didn't say, be yourself and it will work. And there's a distinction there, if you're listening. And I was listening very carefully. He was being very honest. He was saying, I don't know you. You may not have what it takes, but the only way to do it is to be yourself. There was nothing fake about it. There was nothing patronizing or don't worry, you're going to be amazing. He, I think, respected the form of these shows enough to just sort of tell me, that's the only way it can work. You know, good luck to you. I have no clue if it will work for you, but that was his way of saying that. And I appreciated it. It meant so much to me just to have him give me any advice at all. Over the next number of years, we got our show up and running, and I had the opportunity to talk to him one or two other times, and always incredible. Just doing a little business. I think we did a 50 years of NBC late night special, and I got to talk to him very briefly and on the phone. And then the last time I talked to him was early this past October, when it was announced that I was going to take over the Tonight Show. And I had the opportunity to speak to him on the phone. And as you go through this business, and I've been doing this for 11 years, and there are people, Letterman, Leno, have done it a lot longer than me and, you know, achieved a lot more than I have. But when you go through this business, there are little things along the way that you just pick up and sort of keep for yourself. Like, that's just a great little moment that's mine. No one can ever take that away from me. And he called me up. He didn't call me up. I want to get this straight. I asked if there was any way I could talk to him, and it was arranged that I could talk to him. And he was terrific. And he started off the conversation by saying, hey, kiddo. And I'm 41 years old. So I know that's a shock to some of you who thought I was still 16, but I never thought anyone would call me kiddo again in my life. And for him to, you know, that Johnny Carson called me kiddo just delighted me to no end. He was really great. And it wasn't a long conversation. We chatted a little bit about the Tonight Show franchise, and he, you know, pretty much, again, told me, just enjoy yourself. I think another way of just saying, just be yourself. And I had that conversation with him, and it's hard to put into words how electrifying something like that is. You can get very jaded about celebrity. We see a lot of people come through these doors, and every time I talked to that man, it was an event. And people would come into my office afterwards if they knew I had talked to him and want to just stand near me and hear everything that he said. And these are young people. These are people in their 20s. A lot of our writers are very young. And they just wanted to be near someone who had talked on a telephone with him. That was the extent of his power and his influence. He was uncommonly generous to me in these few short interactions. I never told him I was the guy that sent him into the boulder on the Simpsons lot. He may have been a little less generous. But it was just an honor to get those few brief moments of contact with someone like that. And many people have said this, we won't be seeing someone like that again. And when we started this show in September 13th, 1993, we made a point to put up just to keep us honest, pick photos of some of the New York talk show icons that really meant something to us. And the pictures have never changed. They've been up there. It's Jack Paar, Steve Allen, David Letterman, Johnny Carson. And the thing I always loved about the Johnny Carson photo is that it's a very young Johnny, eternally optimistic. Just this great shot of him, it's probably from 1962. It's very early on. All the good stuff is ahead of him. And it's just nice to have had that here these last 11 years and to just try and, in some small way, none of us are ever going to measure up, but to have that spirit, that goodwill, and that symbol of sort of integrity in broadcasting here, maybe in some small way will keep us all a little bit honest. So my condolences to his family and to so many people who, just TV viewers, who feel this loss. And we'll do the best we can to soldier on. And on that note, I guess we should just go to commercial tonight. We do have a good show. We'll do the best we can. Once again, Alan Alda is here, and we'll get this done.